Sweet dreams, sweet dreams.
Sorry, I was working on a song. Yeah, it's a new thing. So generally, I'm finding as I navigate life, these big, gigantic volcanic eruptions of creativity happen for me when I have a certain intention with the music. Like I did Casper Babypants for 12 years. That was music for little kids and their parents, and I had a clear idea of why I wanted to make it, what the purpose was. I had a palette of sounds that I like to use. And once I get a palette of sounds and a purpose, stuff just flies out of me. And so that was the case for the last 12 years with Casper. Well, the 12 years preceding the pandemic shutdown. And then during the pandemic shutdown, I just got real quiet and kind of not goal oriented with music. I decided to give myself a break and just play. I put my studio away in boxes actually, and every day I played, but I didn't try to grab songs. I just decided to play and be in the moment and then walk away, and that was it. And out of that came this kind of groovy, repetitious, trancy, fuzzy music about being alive. And that's what I'm doing now. So I kind of have the lyrical purpose with this new music is kind of talking about, I use a lot of first person. It's like what I'm experiencing being a live human animal and navigating my ego and my fears. And, it's a lot more kind of abstract and sort of trafficking in emotional vocabulary than my previous existence as a songwriter, which was more stories and characters and funny scenes or goofy kind of ideas that I wanted to entertain people with. So it's a little more subtle lyrically, like it's more about poetry kind of, and it's super fun, man. It's really fun to be sort of free to be abstract and not be so kind of descriptive and visual with my songwriting. Yeah, it's fun. I've got really into this guy, Ram Dass. He's he's passed away now, but he was, and I guess kind of still is, because there's all these lectures online that I listen to. There's a great movie called Becoming Nobody about his life. Highly recommend everybody watches it. It's an incredible little exploration of the idea of self and self-awareness and all this stuff. Anyway, listening to his lectures, I just kept going, yes, I know that already. Yes. And it was kind of turning on lights in little dark corners of my brain about how to be alive. I'm kind of not surprised you didn't know about this music, because I'm really, I should make sure everybody knows that it's not my intention to kind of like be popular again or try to grab some sort of, attention, or I don't know. I'm not trying to participate in the professional world of promotion and music making. I don't know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is I'm just making this music for myself, and kind of because I want to hear the records, and then I put it out, and my attitude is kind of like it's a hobby. I'm kind of a hobbyist now. I'm retired from performing. I'm in the studio. Being in the studio is really my natural habitat. It's where I just am fully myself. I have this little mantra like, nobody cares, I'm just making chairs. Like it makes, people do care, and I care a lot about the music I'm making now. And there's a handful of people that care about it, but it helps me to like rein in my expectations. If I say nobody cares, it's like a free pass, like nobody cares, I'm just making chairs. Nobody even needs to sit down. Nobody's buying these chairs. They're just beautiful chairs. Take off the lid and there you are. I'm so proud of the presidents, and especially how we did in Australia. I mean, Australia was like the greatest energy of fandom and intensity coming off the audience that we ever experienced. We literally had to run for cars, like to avoid crowds, and we had to use fake names in hotels when we checked in. I do still traffic in like visual metaphors and stuff like that. I want to have fun. I'm really having like fun with language, which I've always done, I guess. It's just they're less about sex and candy or sex and food and animals, and more about just more abstract ideas of existence. But yeah, a song musically and sonically, I try to make it fun. I want it to be like a joyride for the people, and I want it to be kind of like repetitive and soothing. My theory is you should either be able to kind of dance to this music or take a nap and go to sleep. If I'm working on a mix of a song and I start to get tired, I'm like, okay, I'm in the right world. I want this new music to kind of be like comforting and like hold somebody and rock them. Not rock them, rock them. Actually, it was a three-string guitar.
Three-string.
Kind of like, well, like this guy. I don't know. Obviously, I think we're doing audio only, but this is three strings, D, A, D. Well, in the Presidents, we were C sharp, G sharp, C sharp,
Right.
which turned out to be the key that a lot of heavy-duty grunge was in, riding on the coattails of a certain key that everything was in. And then, yeah, this. For those of you that can't see, there's a funky little Japanese guitar on my wall. This is the two-string that I played on the debut album. Wow, that looks good. Sparkles.
That does.
It's still feedback, visual feedback. It's still in use. I use it all the time. So yeah, it's still a working guitar. I bought it for $75 at a pawn
really?
shop.
The cat on that.
Oh yeah.
Is that?
It used to be a devil. It was a devil at the beginning, I think, when I did the President's album, but the devil sticker fell off or something. So I put the cat on. Yeah, kitty.
Yeah,
That's not the kitty though. There was an actual cat named Chima who was circling around my feet while I was doing a jam session with my friend Mark in Boston. And I had the tape deck rolling and I started improvising, kitty at my foot and I want to touch it. And that was all that was that's all there was to it at the beginning. And then I wrote verses later. But yeah, so that is a real cat that really did behave as if it was inviting you to pet it and then would rear up and claw you to death. Some girls are like that too. Well, I mean, I grew up listening to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, just that one record from the time I was about 2.5 or 3, the year it came out, 1967, until I was probably, I think, 10, 9. I think I bought my first other record at 10. So for 7 years, I only knew that record. And it just completely informed everything. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know that they were famous at first. I just thought it was this crazy record. And my reaction was, I want to do that too. I want to be in their world. I want to like get in and make my own sounds that, make me, that album made me travel in my mind. It just was an absolute trip. Like I really felt like I was a little kid, so I was already tripping, but it heightened my trip.
They have built a home sweet home.
Yeah, well, the whole time I was in the Presidents and having success, I had this signal coming from somewhere in me that was saying, congratulations, but this is not your last stop. There's some other music you're supposed to be making, and this is not it. And I was perplexed. I was like, really? I don't get to stop here? This is a pretty great place to stop and just be. So I felt this compulsion to try to figure out what this other music was. So I started and stopped all kinds of bands. I did all these different projects on the side when the Presidents were happening, and then during the time we were broken up, and then even into when we got back together. But none of them were right. They all had something about them that was just kind of not the thing that I was vaguely searching for. And then I started making quieter and quieter, more acoustic, more intimate, kind of innocent sounding stuff. And then I met my second wife, Kate, and her artwork really spoke to me. It was like, oh, that's it. That's the palette of that artwork is the same palette I want to use in musical terms for this music I can't put my finger on. So I did the music, and then literally like a cartoon light bulb went off over my head. It's kids' music. I should be performing and writing for kids, and not just any kids, the 0 to 5-year-old kids who are I mean, I think the 0 to 1 year olds are the most beautiful people in the world. They are completely enlightened. You know, as it's something that I kind of became aware of as I focused on that age group, and I started looking at child development science, the science of the brain, and how perception is formed and how self is formed. It just really was fascinating to me. And I'm like, I want to make music that's part of the landscape of that 0 to 5 development time. And also to make music that genuinely entertained the parents. So the parents didn't need to leave the room when the music came on. The family could come together and it could be like a bonding time where everybody's loving the same song. So I had this really like clear sense of not just creative satisfaction, but like a purpose, you know, like a reason, a way to be in service to people that also scratched my creative itch. It was beautiful. Like I find myself going back to thinking about a baby and how they're born and they don't even know the names of things and everything is just energy and light. And then they learn what a tree is and what a hand is. And slowly that magical perception kind of fades, but it doesn't have to. You can kind of work to keep that connection of abstraction, like seeing the Matrix, basically. You can keep that alive. And so a lot of the themes of some of this new music is like, I have songs directly about like, don't forget to be a baby kind of vibe.
I think that he's coming our way. He's coming our
No,
way.
like I said before, I'm kind of retired from the live thing. One of my revelations when the pandemic hit and I went quiet and just played every day was that I had a lot of shows lined up. Like I said, I did almost 1,300 shows as Casper, and I was doing, you know, at one point I did 3 a day for 3 days in a row. I did 9 shows in 3 days. I felt very relieved, and I thought, why do I feel so relieved? And I kind of examined that feeling and realized, you know what? I think if I look back at my life and look back at especially my relationship with Sgt. Pepper's and that relationship with a recording and how it really set off something in my mind, and it was more like an individual, intimate experience, I realized, you know what? That's my natural habitat. My natural habitat is making recordings that people experience one-on-one, like, or alone, or on headphones, or like, and I also kind of realized that it was really taking a toll on my nervous system. Sort of, I got really good at being the front man and all that stuff, but it's a lot of work. You know, it's a lot of work to appear to be doing no work at all. So I just decided for now, I'm retired from performing. That might change. I mean, this stuff I'm making, I'm on album 4. Bone by Bone is album 4. I have at least 5 or 6 more records percolating here. And if it gets some traction, and if I find a way to do it that doesn't damage my ears, which is another issue from rock and roll times, I would consider it. Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool to find a way to do it. Maybe a way, kind of like when the Beatles later in their career, when they retired from playing live, they were like, well, we can't play live because we can't do this song live. But I always kind of balked at that. Like, yeah, you could, you know, the horn part on Got to Get You Into My Life could be a distorted guitar. You could find ways. So it would be fun to do it and find a different palette for it live, you know, something that wasn't trying to create the recordings. But that's a bridge to be crossed later. But I do, however, engage in a mental sort of exercise when I'm mixing a song or when I'm writing the song. I kind of close my eyes and remember what it was like to stand up in front of 50,000 people at a European festival and have them go, na, 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 during Tiki God or something, you know, like, and I think about like, oh, this will be the part where the crowd will go like, you know, like do the thing. Even though I'm sure that'll never happen. I'm 57 years old. There's no way I'm going to command an audience like that again. But it's fun to play with that, like, you know, atmosphere. With the Beatles, it's just mind-boggling how many lives were amplified, heightened, you know, turned on by their music. My theory with them, and I have a group that I get together, I've been getting together with for 10 years called the Beat Geeks, and we do a once a month kind of get together and talk Beatles, listen to Beatles. We've branched out and done other bands and stuff like that, but it's really Beatles centric. And I kind of I'm kind of a theorist in the group. Like I'm a, why did that happen? How did that happen? You know, like what were the social and geopolitical seeds of the Beatles being the Beatles? And one of the things I think about is the fact that their time when they were initially coming up and really getting famous was so intense, and then the after effect was so isolating in some ways. Like they were kind of, well, at the height of it, they're trapped, like they can't go out, they can't walk around, people are sneaking into the studio. There's this like pressure and threat and kind of it must have been just totally intense. And so I think the songs are the one thing they could control, right? Especially the recordings. That's where they could really like craft and pour all their love into that, despite all the external intensity of the experience and like kind of some dark intensity, So yeah, I think that their songs reverberate so much because they're sort of like diamonds made out of compressed coal. Like their experience was a lump of coal, and at the very center was this like boop, little like diamond pops out, and that's the song.
20 million years to build this machine.
Yeah, it was fast. We played one show that was a showcase for ASCAP, which is a performing rights organization. And I didn't know this, but there were at least 7 major label representatives in the audience. And we just did I'm glad I didn't know, because it might have freaked me out, but we just did our usual weird show. I played that guitar that I'm pointing out in the back wall. And the next day we had 7 major label records offers, like people saying, we want to sign you. So we grew up, we had to put on our big boy pants real fast. And it was an interesting combination of pride and thrill and euphoria mixed with disorientation and fear and like a ginormous to-do list that all of a sudden appeared and ate up all of our free time. So yeah, it was everything, It was the dark and the light, the positive and the negative. There's really, I guess there is kind of a gatekeeper for, like Spotify is a bit of a gatekeeper because you got to get on the hot playlist, or getting on playlists on Spotify is sort of the equivalent of getting on alternative radio was for us. So there's a little bit of that if you want to play that game. But if you don't want to play that game, you can get your music out like I'm doing without any fuss. And there's no gatekeepers. There's no bottleneck to try to get through. It's beautiful. I love it. Democratizing distribution of ideas is a glorious thing. I did this with CASPAR, one last little idea. I did this with CASPAR on purpose, and I really wanted to do it with the Presidents, but got shouted down, I think. Just do nothing. I just put out the music. I didn't do any promotion. I didn't do anything except put it out, play some shows, and wait. And it took a long time, but it's still happening. CASPAR's out there still percolating because every 5 years, my fan base grows out of it. It's just grinding away and getting more and more known, and I'm doing nothing. Point is, like, pour everything you've got into the music, or in your case, into the photography, into your creative endeavor, and then, just sit back and let it do its thing. If it's really good, it'll catch fire. Or if it's time for it to, click, it'll catch fire. That's my theory, and so it takes patience. It just takes patience, and I trust that as a way to gauge popularity more than spending a lot of money on promotion. Okay, we're about to get cut off. Take care. Thanks a lot. And give Australia a big wet kiss for me. I want you out on the street like, I love Australia. I hope to come down there to relax sometime soon.